to our coverage of the LEC. Our next match is between two teams coming off a disappointing week, SK Gaming and Origen. Now, we had high hopes for SK Gaming after an impressive inaugural split. They, of course, made it to playoffs, but now they are on a 3-game losing streak, and the only team Excel has been able to beat. On the other side, Origen, they had a great spring split as well, making it all the way to the finals in Rotterdam, but they have a bit of a slower start to this split, and they lost to Rogue last week in a massive upset, although after Rogue's victory over Fnatic, you know, perhaps we're dealing with a new Rogue here. However, both teams not doing too hot right now, and I want to start with SK Gaming as they are on a 3-game losing streak. What's going wrong?
Yeah, one of the things I really want to emphasize is that coming in, I think we had really high expectations, and one of the expectations was put upon the likes of Selfmade, right? You look at him as a young rookie of the split jungler, he had a fantastic debut, and then coming into this split, expectations like he's going to be the same, he's going to be dominant, he's only going to be more improved, because now they've got an even stronger top laner with Sacre. But him, alongside Pirean, it feels like that they've been struggling to have any kind of impact like they have had in the past.
Yeah, I feel like Selfmade has looked like he's been on a leash ever since the Infinity Edge Rek'Sai game, right? Like, ever since that moment where they lost in the playoffs last spring, he just has not had the same early game impact. And at the same time, Pirean, as you mentioned, I used to feel like was such a rock for this team. He wasn't going to pop off in the mid lane, but you remember him playing like very well on stuff like Lissandra, setting up and roaming around the rest of the map. And he's getting like, solo killed by Humanoid in this game. Things that just should never happen for this player are happening, and it's baffling me.
And I do feel like that last week we saw Selfmade trying very hard to make plays, but it's just kind of a dramatic comparison to what we saw last split, where he was the reason why their team was winning games. And now it feels like that while he's trying, the rest of his team either aren't on the same page or he's just not having the same impact. And it's just very surprising that we're seeing such a stark difference from this duo compared to what we had last split.
Yeah, it's definitely puzzling to see that it has all kind of have gone to the wayside for SK Gaming. Of course, nothing is lost yet, right? They can get things back on the rails if they beat Origen here, but Origen also not doing too hot right now. Gone 1-1 so far every week, and we do expect a bit more from our finalists back in spring. Their jungler Kold, he did give some insight on how Origen's doing on Euphoria this week.
Yeah. Schalke beat Rogue. Rogue beat us. So it's only logical that
Wait, what the we lost the belt, Jonas.
You did lose the belt to Rogue.
Belt, Jonas.
I just realized that. So now you can't use the belt?
Now we lost the belt.
Damn.
The unofficial world champion belt.
Well, you have another you'll never get it back from Rogue. Someone else is going to take it.
It's gonna be, we're gonna play musical belt. I'll
I'll
get. We can play musical belts real quick.
Okay, hold on. Who's Rogue facing next?
Fnatic.
Okay, Fnatic will have the belt.
And Misfits.
Then who
Fnatic
does-
will have the belt
then
again.
who does
Or no,
Okay,
Fnatic plays
then we play
SK.
Fnatic on the next week. Nice. We can have the belt back against Fnatic.
Well, then it's Fnatic versus SK, so theoretically, SK could get that belt.
Goes for
Oh,
Or Misfits could get that belt.
Misfits isn't getting the belt.
Schalke could then get the belt back. Guys, the
Rogue
championship
plays-
belt is gonna be hard to track if everyone's
plays
just...
Fnatic, then okay, Fnatic wins. Then Fnatic plays SK. SK is looking really bad, so Fnatic will win. And then then Fnatic needs to win against Schalke because we only play them on the Saturday. Okay, the plan is some.
Yeah.
Well, I was told we were getting some insight into why OG wasn't doing too hot, but that was very funny and interesting too. Go check out the Euphoria episode. Before we go, the players are about ready. I would like to hear from you guys kind of why we're being kind of so hard on Origen. I think they were finalists, and we saw a slow but steady improvement throughout spring. Do you guys feel that's not the case in summer? And what's the situation in your opinion?
Well, this team feels like very similar to SK, a lot of individual mistakes. And when we look at two players on this team, Kold and Nukeduck, they should be holding down the fort. But what we've seen is Kold not having the impact he needs to in these games. And also Nukeduck, I think, has been focused down by other teams a lot so far this split. He wasn't punished in spring, but now you see him like the other week on Aatrox, he's getting hard camped in the mid lane and he's not able to find his footing, and that's really slowing down any ability for Origen to make plays.
So I get into fights with many people because I call Origen a slow team that isn't proactive and doesn't do anything, because they sit there and they make the argument that they can be proactive, and you only have to look at that TSM versus Origen game game to prove that. But since they've been in the LEC, they're one of the slowest and worst early game performing teams that we have. And a large part of it is because these two are not working like they did in last split. So we need to see a return to form if Origen want to stand a chance competing for those top spots once again.
Yeah, tough losses for both of them, SK Gaming and Origen, and Vedius wants to see a more proactive Origen. Let's see if they bounce back and head over to our casters.
Thank you very much, Sjokz. I'm personally excited to see what level both these teams show this week. Now, admittedly, we did troll you a bit with that Euphoria clip because it was pretty much completely useless on the subject of analysis, but we luckily are the people who host that episode, so this is what I can tell you about what OG said. Jet lag.
They made a lot of excuses.
Not experience on the patch. Really sleepy. Bug in my eye. And hopefully all those things have been resolved as we head into this next week. Now, we did not get to talk to SK, but I'm curious to see what level SK can bring because OG have promised us a return to form. They've had time to ramp up. It's patch 9.13. They're experienced on it now, and we are set up to expect more.
And on the other side of that coin, SK have certainly been struggling. They seem to have almost the exact same problems that Origen do in between the mid-jungle synergy, but on the other foot. If it's Nukeduck who is falling behind and struggling for Origen, taking a lot of weak matchups, it's Pirean who is just getting blown up in a lot of matchups that he should win, especially that Azir versus Corki matchup. So all eyes are on Pirean. What is his champion pool going to look like? What are going to be the priorities here to get both these mid laners back into form?
And champion pools is an excellent topic of discussion because so far this season, we have not seen a ton from SK. Sacre, new guy to the team, pretty much always playing a ranged champion. We got Pirean, pretty much always playing a control mage. Crownshot, you want him on Ezreal, maybe Xayah, maybe Tristana if you're a fan of that. You could argue Jinx too, but those aren't champions that are particularly powerful right now in the current meta.
I'm going to go out on a limb though, and I'm going to say that SK Gaming are my new favorite team. The fact that they banned, although Origen taking a run for the money with the Azir ban, but Tahm Kench not in this game, I love it. Tahm Kench ruins fun. I hate how he makes every single bot lane super safe, and I also love that SK Gaming followed up with a priority pick of Lux. So Xayah Rakan is open, SK Gaming say, take it, I dare you.
But you know what else is open? Interestingly enough, is Draven. Draven Morgana.
Take it, I dare you.
And honestly, it's been a long time since I've seen OG really go ham in the bottom side of the map. They were pretty comfortable in the Sonataric meta, taking the Sonataric. We saw it when they were playing up against the LCS teams. Now the Jarvan and the Neeko, though, will be the lock-in. Neeko, of course, still a flex pick, not entirely sure where it'll go, and a safe kind of flexible jungle pick for Kold as well.
It can be flexed in between that mid and top lane. I have a feeling it'll go into Alphari's hands. It's definitely a champion that he likes to prioritize up there. And in tandem with the Jarvan, you then have that really great combination of the AP and the AD and the strong 2v2 top side of the map. Because Origen, they don't really play around Nukeduck. And I agree with kind of what Vedius is saying. They maybe need to go back to that style, but they've been playing a lot more attention to Alphari.
Yeah, I'm going to be paying a lot more attention to this jungle matchup because that is a Vi now locked in.
His second Vi.
His second Vi. An LCL special from the previous season. Saw people bringing this one out, and curious to see what Selfmade can get done with it. And this does feel to me like a bit of a playmaker in the jungle, which is exactly what you want for Selfmade. And rounding it out with an Ezreal for Crownshot, I honestly feel like SK Gaming so far are kind of like following the recipe for success, at least from what they've shown previously on the split.
So the idea with Lux Ezreal is that you cannot beat this lane hard enough to make it not count. Lux Ezreal can almost get out of anything, no matter what the 2v2 matchup is going to be into the bot lane. And then once they get into lane phase, if a single binding hits, the line damage between the Lux ultimate, between the Ezreal ultimate, you throw a Mystic Shot on top of it, just delete someone.
Yeah, you absolutely do not want people to line up. And on top of that, you have a point and click in the form of Vi. So chances are a single member exposes themselves at any point on this Origen lineup that they will just be absolutely deleted by the sheer amount of burst possible between these three champions on the SK Gaming side. But as we enter the second ban phase, curious to see what gets taken away. The solo laners have not been picked up by SK Gaming yet. They're going to take the Kennen. I wouldn't be surprised to see something like a Gnar follow up here, maybe a Jace as well, something in Sacre's wheelhouse, maybe Vladimir. It really depends on what approach they want to take.
Vladimir has kind of been Sacre's go-to champion when he needs to blind pick into a flexible matchup and then just try to outscale it or safely survive it.
And you know what's crazy? Is that both Kiana and Mordekaiser are up and available. Pyke, though, banned away. Not something that I often expect to see banned up against Mithy, but still.
I like the fact that Patrik pivoted to Sivir, knowing that Tahm Kench wasn't there. Tahm Kench's presence in the meta unlocks a lot of champions like Ashe and Varus. They almost just cannot be played in this meta without the safety that the Devour access is there. So by having a more self-sufficient ADC like a Sivir, it'll completely kind of change up what the 2v2 matchup is going to be in this bot lane. So I then like the response from SK Gaming to say, okay, get rid of all of the things that like to hard engage or have kill pressure like that Pyke.
Yeah, all the champions that can free roam, now that Sivir is that strong independent carry who does not need a Tahm Kench to save. The Yasuo, though, taken off the board. Nukeduck, of course, a very prolific Yasuo player. Patrik as well, I know, enjoys the champion, although Nukeduck, I think, has assured us, at least he did during Rift Rivals, that he was the superior Yasuo player. But it will be taken away.
That's a throwback.
That is a throwback. And I would be very surprised to see Lissandra locked in. I really thought the nerfs would have taken her out pretty much permanently, but we'll see if that is what they want to opt to go for. Instead, it looks like it will be the Nautilus, a solid, hard engage option, can also roam as well. So Mithy set up to either support this 2v2 matchup or try to find success elsewhere.
Yeah, I like the response. I'm actually curious if the Yasuo was the priority over something like a Nautilus, or even the Pyke was a priority over something like a Nautilus with that point-click CC. You might get your wish there, though, Drakos.
I don't know why you'd hover it unless you mean to pick it, because you're reminding your opponents that it's left up and available. That is a Mordekaiser lock-in. Now, if you remember last time OG played against a Mordekaiser, it was against XL, and while they did lose the early game, Mordekaiser got blasted. So we will have to find out if OG want to pull out the Vayne. They could still last pick it for Alphari. This could maybe be a flex.
I mean, they could still technically run the Neeko into it. I would imagine that it'd have kind of a similar time up there as the Vayne did.
Yeah. Neeko, of course, is a lot of hard CC as well, so kind of difficult for Mord if he doesn't land the initial grasp to really find a kill there. What will the final pick for OG be? You have to imagine they're feeling pretty confident that it is Mordekaiser in the top lane and Twisted Fate in the mid lane, lining up with what we expect from Pirean and his play style. Very much control mage style. Bit more roaming, though, coming in from the TF. And while Azir has been banned away, folks, we will have Corki, Twisted Fate, a slight variation on the existing meta. But with gold cards in play, it's always going to be a little bit more exciting.
And with a lot of point-and-click setup. So there's multiple CC setups for both of these teams right now, which means there is a lot of gank pressure. So again, anytime Selfmade and Kold are in the game, all eyes are going to be on them. Very different jungle styles, however, and I'm curious what Selfmade is going to do with his early pathing, if he's just going to try to hard rush towards level 6, if he's going to look for windows around level 3 and level 4 to maybe get off some early ganks.
And of course, the struggle for Vi is the Vault Breaker combined with the Flash is a bit more telegraphed than any other skill in the game. Pretty slow moving, pretty slow to charge, unlike the flag drag flash that you can get from the side of the Jarvan. But we're going to have to see what the early game options are going to be. SK Gaming throwing us a curveball. Not only is it a melee champion for Sacre, it's like the furthest away from comfort that we've seen him on yet. Have to see what his Mordekaiser can show us. The last Mordekaiser Alphari played against didn't get to play the lane at all.
The least amount of damage that any top laner had done in the LEC.
Not a stat that I imagine that Expect is proud of. And as we get ready, folks, SK Gaming versus Origen, our final game of the first half of the split. This will lock the standings in the first half. We are going to see who comes out on top. So get ready for our final game here. Both lineups ready on stage. A lot of comfort. Some new picks here on the side of SK. OG hitting us with what I feel like is pretty stock standard for the current meta. As we get ready to go into game. This is it, ladies and gentlemen, the match you've all been waiting for. Origen versus SK Gaming. One team will walk away with a win tonight.
30 seconds until minions.
Origen fan out there in the audience, I hear you. We'll see if we can get them to win, move them up to 5-4 in the standings. OG, despite a lackluster previous week, are still pretty close to the top of the table, so losing a game here is actually a pretty big disaster, and winning it means everything.
Origen said that they were slow to ramp, but they assured their fans that they would return to form in time for playoffs. We'll see if that starts now. Checking in on the Keystones. Just as we suspected, Alphari swapping to the press the attack, so going for the on-hit Neeko, and probably trying to play this lane very similar to the first time he played Mordekaiser with the Vayne, and using that range advantage and trying to stack up those auto attacks. Mord really excels when he's into a lot of melee-based champions, so I think that Origen's composition, the fact that they have Corki, Sivir, and Neeko, might cause a lot of problems for how he wants to play out these team fights.
And while it's not the Vayne, of course, very slippery, very hard to lock down. So in terms of trading, it might be a little bit easier as it's easier to land that Death's Grasp, the also crucial pull-in effect from the Mordekaiser. Press the attack, and the fact that Neeko has much more CC is going to mean that there's a lot more kill pressure on Sacre.
Should also mean that Kold does need to give Alphari the time of day, not again to gank his lane or anything like that, but to provide some reassurance that this can be a strong side of the map to allow Alphari to play out this matchup.
And anytime we talk about one jungler, I always want to hit the other one. And for Selfmade, I feel like it's even more important for the side of SK because last season, Selfmade was the defining factor for this team. It was make or break when Selfmade was making plays. And this season, I don't know if it's that he's on a leash, I don't know if that he's playing more reserve, but I just feel like we have not seen that same level of Selfmade, the crazy Sejuani plays that we saw in spring.
I'm going to disagree slightly, just in the sense that when you kind of think back to the early stage games, it was still Selfmade that was making a lot of these crazy plays, but SK across the board haven't been finding wins, and I think it's just because if Selfmade doesn't step up, no one else is standing up to say, yes, I can also participate here. So while it's easy to kind of point the finger at Selfmade, that it looks like this is all his fault, that he's the one letting the team down, I think it's just because he is the team right now, and so someone needs to stand up with him before SK Gaming can start finding that success. And when they brought on Sacre, it was supposed to be this carry top laner that made such a splash in EU Masters.
And we'll have to see what Sacre can do with the Mord. But my eyes then turn to Dreams, the other big playmaker on this team. And now the thing that I like about this composition, Froskurinn, is that Dreams is on a champion with hard CC. The worst games for SK feel like games where Dreams is on Tom Kench. Dreams has the power to engage. I feel like we always have to give a little bit more credit to that bot lane because Crownshot, you can have mixed opinions on him, but he has had some incredible performances.
While we are talking about the junglers, though, I'll hold it as some trading happens.
I don't think it happened here. Not a whole ton of follow-up, just Patrik focus on the wave. Ooh, both junglers, though. Ward for Kold. Sweeper spots him out, just sees the edge of the Jarvan, the flag and drag, the immediate retreat as SK has lane priority here. Means they can rotate first.
Interesting. I thought originally looking at the pathing that Kold had a read about where Selfmade was, and he was going to secure both Raptor camps. Kold still has his own Raptor camp up, and he actually warded Selfmade's red buff after Selfmade had taken it. And I thought for sure he was going to deny Selfmade's Raptor camp and then walk to his, but the fact that Kold pathed bottom.
Ooh, Sacre. This is what we talked about, a lot more kill pressure up against the Neeko with the press the attack. It was Vayne with Kleptomancy last time we saw Alphari play this matchup, so just a lot less kill pressure in general. But for Kold,
he feels confident doing this because he knows he has Alphari, but
he's at a level disadvantage here, and that's a red buff versus a blue buff. Now they have the man advantage, but Selfmade a little too focused on this one. He's going to sacrifice Pirean. TP now coming in. Gold card buys a bit of time. The stun now comes in. That's first blood. Blows are now coming in. Sacre can continue to try to find damage. Obliterate connects. Death's Grasp will not. Sacre now needs to retreat. Good sidestep there. Has to flash over the wall. And we just watched SK burn all of their early game resources so Selfmade could secure that scuttle grab.
I mean, that's a series of unfortunate events if I've ever seen one.
Ooh, Boomerang Blade connects. Nice timing there coming in from Patrik right as the Aftershock falls off. So Dreams takes full damage there. And Kold is here. Selfmade is here.
They're trying to punish the lack of flash and TP off of Sacre, but Selfmade has the read.
And of course, Selfmade gets spotted out by the Shape Splitter as well.
Really good pathing here from Selfmade to cover his top laner, make sure that this wave can get into the tower so it's not frozen against him.
And have to see if this pays off, because look at the CS difference. We have doubled the CS on the side of Selfmade. He should be starting to take ahead, I believe, very close to level 5 as well. So we're going to have to see if that sacrifice was worth it, because at the end of the day, this was a... This was not a great play.
So this is scary because you still have the teleport potentially from Mordekaiser, and you can tell that that's what Mord was waiting for here, but Pirean gets separated from his team, then they burn a lot of flashes, they engage into a fight that is lost from this position. So what I thought looked a little bit sketch from Kold in that he was losing a lot of farm time, a lot of experience, because he had the potential that he could have taken both Raptor camps, he could have gotten the experience lead, he could have denied Selfmade getting to that level 6, the big power spike for Vi, but it feels like both junglers have sacrificed a lot for their laners, and Pirean just kind of threw it.
Just a little bit. But I also, to me, on the side of SK, it feels a little more like SK is sacrificing for Selfmade.
I mean, they collapsed for him, but...
That's true.
That was just... That was a lemony snicket.
Oh, but for now, 600 gold lead still to the side of Origen. You can look across the board, and it's no surprise to see the CS difference in the top side. Yes, the Neeko versus the Mordekaiser matchup is pretty heavily going in the favor of Origen. That is a 400 gold lead for the Neeko at this stage of the game. Will continue to get worse, but level 6 could be a changing point for the Mord. Do still have to go toe-to-toe with the Pop Blossom on the opposite side.
And unfortunately for Sacre, he's just not going to get any control up here because he doesn't have access to Flash, whereas Alphari does. So you can see he's trying to keep the wave by his tower, but Alphari should feel pretty confident that he can try to get this bounce back in his favor and really continue to abuse Sacre, even though Kold's on bottom side.
Selfmade. Playing with a lot of confidence here as Dream starts to move up, using that bot lane priority, seeing if they get the first collapse. Nukeduck has to be careful about stepping down. No package means only the single Valve can take him out to safety. Quick ball break over the wall takes Selfmade back. Level 6 getting closer and closer. Streams and Crownshot continue to keep the pressure up. Hook going wide from Mithy means that they are just able to sustain the pressure in this lane for now. Selfmade not quite to level 6 at this point though. Bit unfortunate. Would like to be able to pull off a gank in one of these lanes soon. Kold now moving back to the bottom side of the map. Selfmade continuing to pull ahead though. That is the level 6 as he starts to finish up the Krug camp. Kold fighting for vision, getting a little bit, but as great as Alphari is doing in the top lane, Kold is suffering in the jungle.
Well, he's just not getting his level 6, so if Selfmade actually makes a play here in this bot lane with his ultimate while Kold has kind of put himself behind in his jungle just to add security to his lanes, then maybe you look back at this footage and you say, was that the right decision? What did you think about this matchup? So everything really hinges here.
Can Dreams land the Binding? Will Mithy take the bait and try to hook? Binding does connect. Ball breaker forward. Mithy gonna take a lot of damage. Doesn't get a chance to proc the Aftershock. That's massive. Flashes out to safety. Now is able to proc. It gets a little bit tankier, but not enough. Crownshot will find the kill.
And I would love another look at that to see if Selfmade was able to flash to block the hook. It looked like Mithy was perhaps looking for the dredge line into the wall. I'd have to see it slowed down. If so, really cool.
Now let's take a look back at that one momentarily. For now, though, successful gank for Selfmade happening in the time frame you talked about. Before Kold gets to level 6, he has it now, so well played by the side of SK.
Okay, so let's take another look at this one. The Binding will land, and then they just try to chain the CC together just to get the burst, which is why he uses his ultimate instead of following it with the flash. Yeah, he flashes to block the dredge line.
Very clean. And so clean the way they chain the CC to stop him from procting Aftershock, basically cutting his health bar in half by denying him that mastery. And just overall, very clean mechanical play, something that we've kind of come to expect from SK. We have to see, though, in this game, if their team decision-making can match, see what else they can do with the lead, because Kold is now starting to come back in this game. Top lane remains wildly ahead, and you got to respect the package now coming in from Nukeduck.
And here's the Ezreal ult. Not going to catch it.
Awkward.
But there's a response here where Dreams is now on the top side of the map, and Pirean also has access to his ultimate. Oh, Pirean.
Pirean. Now he's just going to get caught out here. They're just going to auto-attack him. He's locked up. Oh, man, that feels like a little bit much. Pirean! Now it doesn't feel like so much. Dreams now steps forward. The heal is a bit late, but a fantastic play into the mid lane and good use of the package from Nukeduck. Pirean, second death of the game.
And unfortunately, it's just there's too many of these instances tied together for Pirean. He has just had a very rough summer split. I felt like the verdict was kind of out in spring on how I felt about Pirean. We heard some good things. You know, Nemesis was saying that Pirean is one of the stronger mid laners when it was coming to scrims early on. But so far, on stage and on tape, Pirean just is giving away a lot of free isolated deaths. So until he starts cleaning up his performance, SK are going to continue to really suffer when you don't have that mid lane priority.
It's just a difficult... We've seen one or two really fantastic performances from Pirean, but it just has not been there.
Just a lot of variance.
Absolutely. Now I have to see what else he can do as the teams reset. Dragon is the name of the game. And you talk about the stats, and here they are. Froskurinn, 2.5 KDA, behind in his lanes, behind in gold, 500 gold down in laning phase. Yes, some of that's going to be from losses. But as you take a look back at this play, this one's pretty hard to avoid in his defense, but
it's more so everyone is missing on the map. You don't have the safety behind you, so why even try to risk it? You can say, you know, he's just going up to farm, but it's a free kill that Origen get.
Well, and also, you're a Twisted Fate. You're not an incredibly mobile champion who has like get out of jail free card. You don't have a spell shield. Like your best bet is stun carding a single member. So you do have to play with a bit more respect, and it feels like it just was not there for Pirean this time around. Does still have his TP, is working towards that Trinity Force a bit behind Nukeduck, so will still be reasonably strong. Of course, Trinity Force into attack speed items has kind of been the name of the game for TF recently. A bit more utility, a bit more sustained damage as well.
So now what SK want to do is they want Selfmade to take the lead. Anytime his ultimate is up, they're going to be looking to try to use that to make plays. So all Pirean needs to do at this point is make sure that his ultimate is synced up with Vi's ultimate. They can walk into the river fairly safely, and anytime Selfmade finds himself in a bind, boom, Twisted Fate right there with him. It's a 2v1 scenario. So you're going to constantly see Selfmade with his ultimate walking in aggressively, looking for things that he can take. In that instance, it was the Infernal Dragon, but any buffs he can contest, he's going to be pretty fearless right now.
And they need to get something done. Because Corki now has Trinity Force. Nukeduck is getting scarier and scarier. Sivir is, you know, working closer and closer to first item. They absolutely have these windows to play around, but the thing that we learned from the Excel game where they played Mordekaiser is that things don't get really better for this champion if we move late in the game, if you know how to play against it. And OG are already a team that have proven that they know how to play against it.
OG are speeding up tempo here, though. They've started the Rift Herald. Now all of SK Gaming are on this side of the map. Ezreal now waddling his way that.
Maybe, just maybe, get something done here. Dreams has to be careful. Binding needs to come out if he wants to live. The Aftershock is not going to get procced. Massive Nukeduck now on a killing spree. That's going to be an easy Herald. OG are just going to grab that one uncontested.
Super late map read there from SK Gaming, and then a lot of disrespect to walk blindly into the area, especially when you're facing that amount of hard CC from the Nautilus.
Oh, and things are going from bad to worse for Sacre. Still have to be careful. Very risky to dive a Mordekaiser. Selfmade here, looking to cover as well. Probably could go for the 1v1 on Kold if Alphari was not in the area. Warrior versus Cinderhold. Ulti coming out though, here we go. Can't go invisible from that one. The true sight from TF, more than enough, and Selfmade will grab that kill. Good punish coming in from the side of SK.
And there's that fearlessness, the fact that, again, Selfmade is going to feel very confident to make any sort of play like that, knowing that he's got backup in the back pocket. Good response from Origen to immediately drop the Herald. I like the use of the Lux ultimate to try to clear out the wave, but you're still going to get a lot of gold here.
Good effort, but overall, I think OG still coming out on top in this play. A lot of gold going to the back pocket of Nukeduck. This TP coming in, I think, a bit ill-advised. You're not really going to be able to stop. Oh, you are going to be able to stop the Herald from taking the tower. That's pretty crucial. It is going to take one more wave. Maybe SK can find an opportunity to collapse, but while everyone else was topside, OG are just having their way in the mid and bot lanes.
But that's going to be a stiff breeze before mid lane tower falls over, and like you're saying, all of that gold is funneled onto Nukeduck, and he might even get a Twisted Fate.
Flag drag, immediate Cataclysm, making it look smooth. Pirean now caught in the midst of everything, trying to lay down a little bit of damage before he goes. Now backstepping. Gold card is going to connect onto Nukeduck. Oh, the Captain Jack cleanse to make his way out. Nukeduck will find the kill.
Now looking for possibly one more here. Selfmade on the run.
Mordekaiser coming in though. Can't isolate a single member. Selfmade has to be careful here. Challenging Smite is not going to be enough. The Vi will fall. Alphari now finds another one. Locked down. Sacre level 9 to level 10 is just running forward. Movement speed from the Chase Splitter is going to be massive. A lot of damage comes in from the Mordekaiser. Have to respect it. If he isolates you in the Death Realm, though, the tower will not help him. Alphari will have to back off.
And the only silver lining there is the fact that it was Nautilus that picked up the kill instead of Corki being 5-0 right now. But Origen continuing to take everything on the map, and when it's Nukeduck who's now getting all of this attention, getting all of the gold, he got the Rift Herald, he's sitting on a Trinity Force and an Essence Reaver at 14 minutes in this game. This Corki hits like a truck at this point in the game.
Yeah, you can see it again. Obviously a lot of initial burst damage comes in from the Cataclysm, but pretty easy for Nukeduck to just fire forward. Ooh. And the Phosphorus Bomb plus the Sheen-empowered auto is just an absurd amount of damage. Burning him down with the Corrupting Pot as well. And Selfmade, wrong place, wrong time, is the story here. But he had pretty much all the information he needed. I think just
he also
state is welcome.
Knew that his top laner wasn't in a good position. A lot of individual mistakes from multiple members on SK.
And rather than focus on those, I'd like to talk a little bit about OG. They did promise us that this week, that they would have adapted to the patch, that they would be ready. And while, yes, SK are making some individual mistakes, OG are clearly much more on the same page as a team and seeming to be playing much better overall this week.
Yeah, and a lot of that is giving resources into Nukeduck. I like the response. It didn't necessarily feel like it was an immediate game plan from Origen, but really good kind of pivoting and how they were going to problem solve this game, you know, immediately using that Rift Herald in the mid lane. It's always nice when you get to use it there, but knowing that they had the numbers advantage.
Patrik now going to back off. Dreams needs to be careful. Mithy going to try to find the hook. Can look to turn this one around. Will get knocked up upon landing. Patrik is fine. He just spell shields that one. Mithy is now going to try to walk away. Big damage coming in for Dreams. Kold now trying to turn the play. Eyes on Nukeduck though. This Corki is massive. He's going to tear through each and every member of the team. He's Gatling getting him down. Dreams tries to buy a bit of time. Will not be the focus. Moving forward, Pirean needs to lock a gold card immediately or his team could die. Gold card comes in. Why are they going forward? So much confidence from the side of SK, but it will not be enough. OG come out on top.
Yeah, a lot of confidence, especially coming out of Crownshot there. We do know that he is a very accomplished Ezreal player. But it looks like Origen aren't going to try to force any sort of tempo. Instead, they're going to take the kills that they came for, probably shove the wave in, and reset the map.
And Nukeduck is the man to fear. Everyone else here just to kind of set him up. Patrik also quite strong at this point in the game.
This is actually really important that Nukeduck's delaying their backs because he's sitting on his blue buff and his red buff, and the Mountain Dragon is spawning in 14 seconds. It means that the Mountain Dragon's going to be super free for Origen.
And you take a look at the setup here. Obviously, the hook misses. Good flash comes out. I like this from Mithy. Good spell shield from Patrik as well. They don't sync the cooldowns enough. And Mithy obviously pays his life for it, but Patrik, a lot of other AD carries would have died there with a mistimed spell shield, not Patrik.
I like how Kold takes that kill.
He's earned it. He had a rough jungle. Selfmade took a lot from it. And now OG, very easy for them to grab this Mountain Drake. SK very much on the back foot, not just in terms of map positioning, but in terms of just raw gold values, as OG continue to pull further and further ahead.
So now comes the desperation plays from SK Gaming. Where is it going to be?
And that's the graph that I wanted to point out before we got into the replay. Look at Nukeduck compared to everyone else on the map. Yeah, that's 9.5k. His only competition is Alphari, who is 3.2k behind him. That's a lot of gold. That's like an IE difference between two players.
He's a big boy.
Ooh, good use of the Shade Splitter. Once again, just spotting it out. Spidey senses tingling there.
SK Gaming have missed their window though. You see the immediate missing pings coming up the lane. They know that Origen, this play has stalled out long enough that Origen will get their pieces in the right position, and SK Gaming are not on even footing. They cannot fight a fair fight. This has got to be like, find them in a dark alley, make sure that you have every advantage available before they take the fight.
The only thing I will say is that Sacre's ult is literally build the dark alley. And Patrik now has to be careful. Crownshot will whiff on the ultimate, as that surely would have been death for Patrik. And SK, very attached to that top lane tower. Don't know if that's the right choice, but I don't really think there's a lot of options. I think OG at this point have very tactically limited most of the potential for SK to kind of do anything, as is very often the case when a team has a 4K, or rather 6K gold lead.
But Origen can kind of continue to sit in this formation and funnel on gold while they get the last standing objectives for free. You can see good eyes from Nukeduck and Mithy. They sat in that river on 3 control wards. They waited until the waves rolled back in when their own team got back into position, then just walked back into the lanes, picked up the free gold, and now continue to kind of creep their vision line forward on this map.
The good news for SK is that while Nukeduck is a terrifying raid boss who will kill everyone, they're actually pretty close to the remaining members of the team, right? 7k gold lead, 4k of that is in the back pocket of Nukeduck. The rest is pretty evenly distributed across the rest of the team. So they can, in theory, get a fight if Nukeduck is not there.
I mean, in theory, but
in theory,
who is your good target to choose from? Yeah, again, it's very hard to put an Ezreal and a Lux far enough down that they become useless at this point in the game. They'll still hurt if they find you, but I mean, unless you hit Patrik, you don't really have a lot of good options here for Dreams or Crownshot.
And that's the thing you brought up when you talked about Sivir in the champ select, is that one of the few champions that doesn't need Tahm Kench to be relatively safe.
Has that built-in self-defense in the spell shield. So there's one.
Pulling back now. Checking on Nukeduck to see how much damage. Oh, the package is so incredibly strong.
No one can come anywhere near Nukeduck. Not only because he will see them coming from a mile away with all of that vision underneath him, but also because he will just murder them. And you can see the assist ping coming from Nukeduck, so Patrik is going to force the way forward so that they have mid priority. He's going to walk across this landing strip that Origen have created.
And they have. I mean, we could see a very early Baron if OG want to commit here.
I think Origen actually just want to find SK.
A lot of damage going down onto Mithy. He's going to have to hook his way out. Selfmade now going for the play, though. This is surely going to get turned against them. Mithy's still alive. They're going to try to body block for him, but he does get taken down. TP coming through in the end, and meanwhile, Alphari is on the bottom side. Pirean steps forward. Stun connects, but Nukeduck holds the cleanse.
The devastating nature of Ezreal and Lux, and yes, that was a full team effort from SK to follow it up, but again, these two champions, if they find you, it doesn't matter what their scoreline is, they will turn it into a kill. So nicely done from SK Gaming, and they just need to find more of this. They need that hit and run style of League of Legends, which luckily, because they do have long range ultimates between Lux and Ezreal, and then have the Destiny, they can actually achieve that.
Now though, Sacre might be in trouble. Uses the Death Realm, tries to buy a bit of time. Oh, Alphari does take tower. There you go. Bit of damage goes down onto him.
will now come out of the death realm. Goes over the wall, tries to buy the time. Ooh, well layered there. Shut down, coming through. That's going to be big. A lot of gold into the pocket of Sacre.
Very nicely done. That's now 2 hit and runs that SK have managed to secure.
And this feels like just the raw power of non-committal CC. So many of these skills hitting. And honestly, Pirean, we give him a lot of flack, but I got to say, good patience. Locks the gold card, throws the wild cards to try to bait the spell shield. Don't even know if Patrik had it, but the gold card connects in the end, and that's ultimately all that matters.
That said, Origen still probably not feeling too much pressure. They know that they're very close to kind of key item breakpoints here. The dragon is going to be spawning soon. They didn't lose a lot outside of the shutdown bonuses of those few picks being picked up, so it's not like SK Gaming have now swung themselves wildly back into this game.
No, definitely not the case. Patrik, though, will TP back to mid lane. Kold now potentially going to look to fish for a play. Good bit of vision from the Lucent Singularity. Have to be careful, though, walking into this mid lane. Crownshot can get out. Pirean cannot.
He also needs to be careful because they know that they're relying on the travel time from Nukeduck and Alphari, that they can't immediately be there. So Origen are still just jockeying for position and not necessarily playing for a pick, whereas SK Gaming definitely playing for picks.
Gold card is going to connect. Good bit of damage. Selfmade can now come in, but Alphari is quite strong. It is on the on-hit Neeko, so that pop-off is not going to do a lot. Good bit of damage now comes down. Traded for the Ocean Drake. Can they just tag out Alphari here? And they get it. And yet another pick found from SK. Crownshot now trying to escape, but the hook goes onto the Wolves. Not what Mithy wanted whatsoever. TF Ultimate coming out as well, and Crownshot, he's looking for an opportunity here. He's still playing forward. Tier 2 mid will go down. So we'll just be a tower for tower traded, plus the kill over to SK, but Origen not quite able to close this one out cleanly with the lead that they built earlier.
But like you're saying, I think that's what, the 3rd shutdown in a row that SK have managed to secure here out into these side lanes. So yeah, the map is still hemorrhaging. They're still losing a lot of objectives, but at least finding some opportunities and advantages where they can.
Now though, they do still have to be careful here. Mord can't force a 1v1 at any point and will most likely force it against Mithy. He is playing a little bit back, I think, to try to avoid that. You can see him just hovering on the outside. He'll hook in if he has to, but does not want to be the target of the Death Realm.
So they're just going to walk towards Baron, potentially.
Pick for a pick at the end of the day. Really, Sacre, overstayed his welcome.
So this is what happened on the map simultaneously. As soon as Mordekaiser died, all of SK Gaming assist pinged the Baron, because you're looking at Pirean, who doesn't have TP or Destiny. He immediately was bottom. He starts running towards the Baron. They're like, uh-oh. But Origen decided that they'd rather take the map reset. They definitely don't have vision control of that area. You can see in their inventory now, they've bought the proper control wards. So I guess SK Gaming caught a lucky break right there that Origen were like, it's not a perfect setup now. Let's get the proper vision control. We can choke them out of this area before we turn on this objective.
Now, yeah, SK are back to praying for picks to try to find a way back into this game. It looked good there for a few moments, but now they got to fight for this vision control. Selfmade being on the bottom side of the map is not ideal, but OG, once again, waiting, hesitating to start this one. The Scuttle Crab is pretty key there. And really the potential for chain CC here between the gold card and the binding and the Vi means that OG do still have to respect SK, but very difficult for SK to win any actual follow-on fight.
Yeah, because there's just so many damage threats on this Origen squad right now that even if they do chain CC and they delete someone, preferably Nukeduck,
yeah.
Patrik is still going to hit quite hard, as is Alphari at this point in the game. So there's still a lot more ways for Origen to navigate these team fights.
It really does feel like pretty much a shotgun versus machine, right? Like, obviously, OG just have so many continuous threats. Oh, Nukeduck, though, going for it.
That's scary.
Okay, that's an engage. A little Messiah version 2 is what we're going to call that one. Nukeduck going in, getting a little bit more, but Mithy has now been taken down, and SK still able to find a few kills here. Sacre coming in on the backside. It looks like they might be able to find one. Pirean on the retreat. Kold still alive, but barely. Sacre now moving forward. Big obliterate, but Crownshot now on a killing spree. Sacre stepping forward. Death Realm. No, not going to come out. Has now been used, but the Boomerang Blade will find the kill. Nukeduck and Patrik still alive, but a mess of a fight.
I mean, that was crazy from Nukeduck. I'm surprised he survived it. Shout out to Crownshot on the back half of that fight. He was definitely putting out the damage, able to disengage himself from the Neeko ultimate just in time, and I believe picked up Alphari on the back half. If Crownshot hadn't been zoned out from a lot of those minions, I think he was going to continue to chase and clean up that fight. He is hitting very hard at this point in the game.
And explain this one to me, Frosco.
Okay, so Nukeduck feeling very confident that his team is flanking. Like you said, the Messiah 2.0 starts the fight, then immediately stasis and then flashes out. But look at Crownshot and how much DPS he's doing. If that Mystic Shot and W combination had hit right there, that might be a completely different fight because you don't have this, another one of Origen's members. He would have immediately deleted someone else.
Ooh, looks like he comes out of the Death Realm right in time. Patrik able to find a kill there at the end. But I can confirm that after that fight, Sacre has now dealt more damage than expect.
We're on the board.
So better performance. But for OG, it feels like on the back of that play, they are set up now to take total control of the Baron. And they have literally the 2 perfect Drakes for taking Baron, Ocean and Mountain. But they don't even need to, because Nukeduck is now pressuring it on the top side. He has 3.5 items completed. Can go for the GA if he wants to. Might be a good choice because he's so far ahead, or can just to finish the IE and try to stomp this one out.
There's no Destiny available for Pirean just yet, so can't use it.
Selfmade, no flash, has the ultimate available. Luxalt will be uncomfortably close, but will not be able to take the Baron in the end. That's OG securing it. 7K gold lead, 26 minutes into the game. Sacre, in the meanwhile, on the bot lane, does not feel confident to step forward anymore. And SK will walk away empty-handed.
And on this back, they're basically going to have everything that they want. You can see that Patrik is just on the very tip of 3 items there for the Sivir. This Corki has been huge all game long. He now has 4 completed items, so Origen choked out SK's vision line. They found the appropriate pick. They turned it into the Baron. They've now got all of the items that they want firmly in the driver's seat. And at this point, you look at the game, you're like looking for a miracle for SK Gaming to come back. This needs to be pick after pick after pick. Because Origen can just walk it down these lanes, stay bundled up, and feel very secure in their team fight.
Yeah, and they showed us a bit of that in the mid game. They had a few moments where they really did look like they came together, Pirean and Selfmade especially, but it's only going to get harder here. The tier 2s have been knocked down outside of the one in the bottom lane. The vision line from OG is getting pushed further and further forward. Choked out such an accurate descriptor to what's happening to SK right now, and can they find an opportunity to breathe? I don't know if it's going to happen. Crownshot, though, still flirting with disaster, willing to step forward, so at least a good sign in terms of confidence.
I'm going to say confident. I like that word. I think Crownshot's very fun to watch in Ezreal. It's cool because in the LEC we have a lot of really talented Ezreal players. Patrik also comes to mind.
Another Ocean, though, will help them sustain the siege. OG setting their sights on the bottom side of the map. Alphari will start to push in the mid lane in turn. Gold card will connect, and out they go. Looking to try to take down Patrik, but the rest of the team is here on the backside. No, the Ezreal is coming in. Look at the TP on the back. Here comes the Mordekaiser. He can lock down Nukeduck. He can take him out of the fight. The cleanse, though, up and available for Nukeduck. Can he get out safely? Big amount of damage coming in. Cold is first on the list. The Death Realm comes in. He wants to steal those stats, but Alphari ready to find a flank of his own. Decimate does land, but it doesn't look like it'll be enough. Cold still on the outside. Isn't able to find it. The Death Grasp is there. Alphari now needs to step in. Pirean gets taken out. Nukeduck is so incredibly strong. Nukeduck is so incredibly strong. I'll say it one more time. Nukeduck is so strong. That's the Quadra. And what more can you say? That Corki is disgusting.
Who took the Penta? Ah, that was just gross there, especially the last part of that team fight where he manages to sidestep, get underneath SK Gaming, and just rip them open from the inside. Brutal play from Nukeduck.
And that's going to be it. OG just going to walk this one down. Because 10-0-6 from Nukeduck. And it looks like after that Aatrox performance last week, he wanted a little bit of redemption here. Waves are coming in. Maybe, just maybe. OG look like they're going to back off here. I feel like they could end the game, but they do not want to take the risks. And that's an 8K gold lead over your lane opponent. Well highlighted, observers.
Just brutal here. So again, the plan seems very sound. You got the spell shield, you're just gonna delete Patrik, but the problem is it's a multiple damage composition here. I like the snipe, but unless you're killing Nukeduck, you still have to deal with this massive Corki. But I don't think a team fight looks better than what SK Gaming got. Alphari's not there. You can see that he's trying to figure out how to get into the team fight. Everyone is split up, but the damage is disgusting.
Of course, if you're wondering why Cold stood still there, he was at the edge of the Death Realm. We cannot see it in the Spectator client currently. And Dreams, of course. Oh. He wasn't even aiming at the other guy. That was just convenience. Like, he just walked in front of the bullet at that point. They're literally falling into Nukeduck's lap. He's like, I can't even hold all these kills.
Here comes the airplane. Open up.
Oh. And he's got the package now, too. The good news is Crownshot's in second place. The bad news is that
his team's 10K
also
goal behind.
getting close to being in second place, yes, in this game. One final siege, it looks like, from the side of OG. SK not feeling as comfortable as they once did to step forward. And the tower slowly but surely being burnt down. Ezreal, the only real champion with a dash out to safety, or at least a reliable one, if Vi can be interrupted. Is the only one comfortable to step forward. Sacre, though, may change that. Decimates the wave, and OG just slowly walking in, waiting for the creeps on the bottom side. Pirean now responds. OG move in on the top side. It's a little bit of a dance here, back and forth. Nukeduck, though, gets to break the rules. He gets to leap forward, he gets to throw out a bit of damage. Sacre just fishing with the Death's Grasp here. Good sidestep on the Binding, won't even need to use the Spell Shield. Ooh, good chain CC. Patrik gone, that's one threat. Maybe now SK trying to find something. Selfmade leaps to the backside. They're trying to take out Kold, but Kold just leaps back into the middle of the team and tries to find an opportunity. Goes Golden, buys a bit of time. Selfmade goes back in. Sacre tries to find himself in the midst. The team needs to use the Death Realm with one swing out of this one. We'll use it on Kold, looking for the 1v1 instead. But in the meantime, Crownshot has been locked up and taken out. OG are winning the fight, even if Sacre will take the 1v1. Double kill for Alphari. Finally, he's just able to show up in one of these fights.
And no one can deal with Nukeduck's damage right now. It was the best college try there from Dreams and Crownshot. They really gave it their all. They're continuing to try to hold the fort here with Pirean.
Might be able to. Sacre now coming in. Death's Grasp will be big if Sacre can land it. Good bit of damage, but will not be able to connect. Alphari just going to walk him down. One tower left. Mithy with his eyes on the prize. Pirean locked up and taken out. And I think Sacre might just be next on the menu. A lot of Mordekaiser damage, but not nearly enough. That's going to do it. That's going to be it. OG find the win.
Origen just eats Mordekaisers for breakfast.
And that's what's crazy to me. At the end of the day, fantastic, fantastic game from OG. And you saw SK trying to force plays consistently, and that is something that I like to see from them. But when you go back to the draft, you've watched OG disassemble a team in the late game and just make sure the Mordekaiser couldn't do anything.
2, 3, Origen!
And I respect that they thought that they could do better, but it's just such a risk, and I don't know if you had to take it.
I just think it's very dangerous to give that matchup when Origen feel confident that they can guarantee themselves a strong side of that map every single time, and then what Origen can do when they're able to leverage a pressure point like that. And then also the fact that that early game fumble in the river, the fact that Corki got so snowballed, like that's only one element of the fact that in this game it was a 10-0 and 10 Corki.
Thank you. Yeah, at the end of the day, you're a Twisted Fate, and while your scaling is pretty good, and obviously you always have the gold card, you're both racing for Trinity Force in the current meta, and whoever gets to the Trinity Force first just completely wins. Hey, Kold.
Hey, Kold.
Do you wanna...
You got something to say to us?
Producers, I'm sorry if we didn't give you the heads up. Kold did commit if we could turn on Shoutcaster Headset 3. He told us that after he won this week, that he would make a wonderful animal sound for the animal sounds that would be the key to Origen's victory. If you could just give that a little test. You gotta make the sound. Wait, make the sound.
Did he just dog you on the sound?
Hey, make him make the sound, Laure. He needs to make an animal sound. Ladies and gentlemen, that was Kold. Thank you, Kold, for your time here. He committed to the bet. He told us that OG would get better.
He lost you the belt and he didn't make our animal sound, Andre.
You're missing some context here, folks. But the bottom line is, OG came out on top. Kold now gets to make some kind of animal sound. And overall for OG, this is a good sign heading into the second half of the split.
It's an amazing sign from OG. This is like a completely different team.
Revitalized. And normally when teams say, hey, it's the patch, hey, it's jet lag or the week, oftentimes the next week they still underperform and you're left wondering, okay, what's the real reason? But when they say, hey, this is what went wrong, and they turn the entire performance around, then you don't have to question them as much, and things start to look a little bit better. The question, though, for me, is can they move into the top, back into the top 3? Can they take down one of our premier teams? Because at this point, Rogue has taken names. Like, they are racing up the standings right now.
I think it's all just about timing. Origen have made it very clear that while regular season games are of course important because no one has locked yet, their eyes on the prize for the playoffs, and that they will be in their final form and they will be ready when the pressure comes onto them. So they've made it very clear that they're looking for the long haul. So until then, I don't want to be too hard on the Origen camp, especially when we get a bounce back like that. That was a phenomenal performance.
Definitely the case, and luckily for us, we also get to hear the other side of the story as Crownshot will be joining us on PGL, so
nice.
We can hear a little bit more about what's been going on in the SK camp.
I was like the one-man army. Him and Dreams were trying to hold the fort, like the Spartans got their shields up and they were just like... Leonidas. You're supposed to work with me.
I'm just saying words from the movie. Kia player of the game, @LOL Esports on Twitter. Thank you, Prompter, for scrolling just in time. Alphari, Kold, and Nukeduck. That's where you can keep it top side of the map.
I'm going to say Nukeduck's going to get it. I'm just going to go out on a limb here. He was, what, 9K gold ahead of his...
I don't think you can give it to anyone else. The Kold is so big. It's I'm not going to be as strict as I was with you guys last time, where I like threatened to jump through into the internet, which I don't think I can actually do. We'll find out later. It's loose. It's the end of the day, guys. But we'll find out who you want to vote for. Alphari, your argument would be, I really like people splitting on side lanes. That does it for me. And that's fair if that's you. Kold, your argument would be, I like it when people fall behind in the early game to support their laners. Now, if you lane in solo queue, I understand that too, because all I want is a jungler who repeatedly ganks my lane.
He was also there when everything started to go wrong for SK Gaming, when they started to contest that Scuttle Crab.
True, true. But for more on Origen's win, let's check in with Laure and their jungler, who's definitely going to make an animal sound for us.
Thank you, guys, and thank you, Cold, for joining me. We'll get to that later. About the game, were you expecting this one, considering how close you and SK are in the standings?
I mean, I expect us to win against SK Gaming. That's kind of a given if we want to reach like high in the standing. But I think with how we played in the last couple of weeks, nothing is really sure. It's kind of how we show up on stage, and we had some specific things we worked on this week, and some of it showed in the game. I think we saw Origen that was trying more stuff in the early game and fighting more, and I even like kind of lost my voice a little bit because I was talking too much, and that's never good when I talk too much. So yeah, it was a fun game.
Yeah, but I mean, a juggler talking with his teammate, that's what's supposed to happen, right? So I would say that's a positive thing.
Yeah.
In Euphoria, you mentioned the fact that Rift Rivals affected your prep, and you had a sick player as well. So how was it this week?
I mean, this week I think it's clear after the last week that the Origen that showed up last week was not the Origen that we wanna show. So we sat down, we talked about things. That's how we do it. We figured out what is it we need to get better at in order to win, and we worked on it. It has been a stressful week. Not gonna lie, we have been ramping up and down a lot in our performance, but I think the way we played today was at least more the way I wanna go forward. So I'm happy.
I agree on that. And you talked about proactivity in the early game. So what else do you need to work on right now?
A lot of things, I think. We had kind of the issue that after we went to Rift Rivals, we came back and the meta was different, the picks were different. We didn't adapt well. So first of all, we need to figure out like what is it actually we're gonna play. Thank God Riot made a new patch with almost no changes in 9.14 we have to fix. We compared to that, we also had a really, I think at least on stage, we have really bad early games, and that is most of it is actually on me because the early game is dictated by the jungler. So I had some poor performances, and we are trying to fix it as a team. It's a team effort, but in the end, the early game is often dictated by the jungler. So most of it is on me, but I think as a team, we play well. We played better today, so it makes me happy. Yeah.
Well, that's great to hear because it's not all on you. What I want to know now, it's halfway through the splits. You played every team played every team. So what do you think about the state of the league as it is right now?
Oh, man, I think we have a lot of teams that are rising compared to spring. There are a lot of teams that where in spring, if I went into the game and we would just play like an average game, I'm sure we would win. But teams like Rogue is starting to play better. Splice is playing exceptional, and even Schalke is playing well. So there are so many teams now that you have to play well against to beat, and I think that's just super fun as a competitor because it's no fun just to go on stage and you just like auto win. It's more fun to just go up there and actually feel like you deserve to win. So it's a good time to be a European fan.
I agree, and we saw so many surprises in the last few weeks. Now we know that Vitality is underperforming. Excel is doing much better. What can we expect from the teams that are underperforming or overperforming maybe at the moment?
What can we expect? I don't even know. Like, I mean, if I were to figure it out, I would probably go ask them. I don't really know. It's funny because in the summer, it's a lot about your mental fortitude and how you can deal with it. If you have a rough spring split, how do you deal with like also a rough start in summer? Some teams collapse, some teams stay strong, and I think the teams that will shine in the end are the teams that stay strong. So I'm excited to see who has the better mental fortitude.
And what about when you had an amazing spring split and things don't always go your way in summer? I mean, I'm not looking at anyone here, obviously.
Are you talking about us? Okay, yeah. Well, then for us, It's funny because you say that, because we were actually 4-4 in the spring split, and now we are 5-4, and we were the same in spring, so things are going according to plan.
Well, perfect then. Thank you very much for your insights, Kold. And to wrap up the day, we're going to send it to Sjokz for the post-game lobby. Take it away.